Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Portal. Joining me is the glorious one, Marcus Green. Marcus, it's Tuesday. It's 11 o'clock Eastern, 10% Central. It is hot in Ohio. I can only speak to what you're dealing with down in Louisiana.
Yes, it's a bit muggy.
A bit muggy. So we're gonna power through this. With the weekend that we had Under Siege from Impact, Double or Nothing from AEW, Night of Champions from WWE, and a little Battleground from their feeder system. That's what we're talking about. Two other little news bits. We have a lot of wrestling to talk about. We're going to start with Under Siege. Marcus, I don't know how many of these shows you saw, but there's nuggets from all of these shows that are worth talking about. Which of the shows did you see this weekend? Because I need to update the Twitter, and I need to stall.
Ah, yes. Well, I saw the tidbits this tidbits from Under Siege, and I pretty much uh, sat through all of Night of Champions. Um,
How did you feel about Night of Champions?
I thought it was fairly solid, fairly solid. One absolutely nothing burger of a match. But they definitely they ended the right way. I'll say that. They send people home with something to talk about, and it seems like they're making a concerted effort despite the obvious conflicts of interest that have existed since they started this partnership with Saudi. They've clearly made a concerted effort to put significantly important matches and storylines through these Saudi shows now instead of just having them be these one-offs that's propped up in name only. So that's it also seems like they're making continue, I guess, advancements when it comes to the women in
Mm-hmm.
certain aspects. So maybe they are having a impact on some of the culture over there. We even seen some stuff, an improvement on I guess sides of like the political relations because obviously Sami Zayn was involved this time around. So seeing some movement on that. So yeah, it's always a pomp and circumstance that goes with that. So we know we getting it at this point. It's only so much bitching we can do. Um, if they, tighten up that partnership as much as they can. But yeah, I thought it was fairly Saturday, and like I said, that Samoan storyline closed out the show, and it was primarily the only thing people was talking about by the end of it. So you know, goal achieved.
So we'll talk about why Sammy was part of the Saudi show when we get to the Saudi show. But first, let's get to Double or Not. No, Under Siege by Impact.
Yeah.
We had three dark matches. Tyler Tirva defeated Jason Hotch with Brian Myers and John Schuyler. They're the good hands. The Death Dolls with a Courtney Rush and Jessica tandem defeating Kylan King and Taylor Wilde. Courtney Rush is Rosemary's former gimmick before she came to Impact. Marcus, I don't know if you've seen the return of Courtney Rush and if you have any thoughts on it, but I will say this. I don't know if they needed to shake up and go completely different from Rosemary, but I'm not against it because the whole thought process was she is who Rosemary was before the demons entered Rosemary. So it's still the same
It's
canonical character, it's just a new look.
it's a very interesting thing because we've seen this now with Su Young, and I feel like we've seen a variation of it too with Allie. With her saying Su Young, then Jessica, and now Rosemary, which really, as long as you've been following that, then also me, you know, uh, incorporating and watching everything, both online, some of her history, and all that stuff she's done with Impact. This is like full circle, long term storytelling, both personally and professionally for her. Um, and I just had not too long ago watched the diary that they did on Rosemary, which was really good. And she talked about that period when she got injured And to your long-standing point about how she had obviously picked up a little weight and it had obviously changed her style, and she actually went through that whole thing on the diary and talked about how it was kind of it kind of sent her into depression and kind of messed with her a little bit, but she eventually got back in her groove. It just took some time. So with this character shift, it's interesting because she's been doing a Rosemary character for so long. She's probably been one of the most consistent characters for what, like the past decade in the company.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was time for a switch, but particularly if she's not going to be in any championship scene right now, and obviously Taya is moved on, and if she's going to be stuck with Jessica, I guess this does create a bit of interesting ground for back and forth. There's only so much longer she was going to be able to do the whole deadpan to the Jessica thing, knowing full and well, I guess her alter ego is somewhere in a casket or something, or in the dead realm or whatever. So I think this allows her to kind of go into her creative bag and play with something new. She could always go back to Rosemary, but this Courtney Rush could be something that she introduces the Impact audience to.
I completely agree with that. I'm looking forward to what they do with it, but only time will tell if it's going to be something that has the same gravitas that Rosemary had. We got Joe Hendry defeating Dirty Dango by DQ to retain the Digital Media Championship. I think these two are going to be squaring off again in Columbus, which I will be attending for, so that'll be fun. Yeah, against the odds, and then the Impact taping afterwards. Well, I'm going with my girl, and it's not in. Also, it's not going to be in Florida, so I
Yeah, I
can't
just
like.
thought about that. That was Orlando, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
God
She
damn.
the curly haired chick was definitely in a
It
in
was a,
Orlando.
it was a Disneyland planning.
So Nick Aldis made his PLE debut or return for Impact by defeating Kenny King. Sheldon John or Gene, I didn't see the match to know how it's pronounced. Seems like an interesting addition to Kenny King. They might be doing a tag team, so if they go in that route, then um, could be good for Kenny King because I really don't know where you go with him
Yeah,
personally.
coming off that Eddie situation. Yeah.
So could be interesting. Could be a lot of fun. Let's see. Then we had Rich Swann, Sam Callahan, and the returning Jake Chris defeated the Design. This was a nice match. This is Jake Chris' first match in like a year or two with Impact, and it seems like he may be sticking around long term. Do you want to see Jake Chris and Sammy Callahan do kind of an OVE reunion and take on the tag team scene?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I guess he was the non or the least problematic Chris. Um, and also, towards that runner they was having, he had kind of branched out and was kind of making a name for himself on his own. We was talking about particularly in the X division, like he was one of the more entertaining parts of it. So it was interesting him making a comeback, and obviously, you know, if Callahan isn't going to be geared more towards getting back into the world title picture, which he would have to get back in a different zone, I think, to get back to where he was. This could be something good for him, familiar, and get back to some of his roots, considering the fact that he basically is just coming off a brainwashing storyline. So,
So here's hoping that whatever they do with Jake Christ is better than what they've been doing with the Design. Because I love Cody, I do. I think Cody Deaner's a hell of a guy, but I am not digging the evil master Cody Deaner or whatever they're trying to go with this Design thing. What I'm hoping for is a return to the Getter, Cody Deaner, the quarantine Cody Deaner, like that was the stuff that really tickled my fancy. So hopefully we can go back in there to some degree, because I think that would
Yeah.
be a lot of fun. Because I think wrestling is powered by characters. I've never not said that. That's why I love Danhausen so much. It's why I think guys like Seth Rollins are insufferable. I think when you actually dive into character work in wrestling, that's when you find the next level. That's why Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan were so prolific. You know,
Yeah.
they
Guys like Jake the Snake. Yeah.
yeah they had a shtick about them. So if you go back to that, like he's not gonna be a main eventer. Like nobody should sit here and think, oh yeah, Cody Deaner's gonna be a main eventer. No. But Cody Deaner could be interesting. He could be entertaining, which is something to say that he's really not at the moment. So let's embrace what works and ignore what doesn't. That'd be my thought. But then again, I'm me. So speaking of what works and what doesn't, Trinity defeated Giselle Shaw, and you know what? I don't know why she is. I don't know how she is. But Trinity is a big get. People like Trinity, and I did not realize that she was going to bring in as much attention on at least on social media as she has. So that has kind of surprised me. Marcus, you said that she was a big signing, and kudos on you for acknowledging that. But like when I checked the recent YouTube videos, she was doing the best of the recent uploads. Just kind of here, she's now second from the night. So they've uploaded, I think, like 7 or 8 videos from Under Siege. They had or 9. They had eight. So they had Santino Morello returning. That has 43,000 views. They have Courtney Rush and Jessica making their tandem debut. That has 22,000 views. They have Subculture taking on Bullet Club's ABC, which I'm not sure if I love that name or hate that name, but it's at least unique. 16,000. Alex Shelley winning the number one contender has 9,000. Highlights of the event have 50,000. A preview has 7.2 thousand. Then we have Trinity with 73,000, and that was the headliner for the longest time. But then Bully Ray putting Scott Demore, and we'll talk more about that here in a bit, has 186,000. So she's got the second highest video of the weekend from Impact. So clearly they have something on their hands with her, and I think it's a good thing to run with that personally. You
Yeah,
run with the
man.
hot hand. It was a solid match. I don't think Giselle Shaw is very good, but Trinity got the best out of her, so like that's not a bad thing. Any thoughts so far on the card or on the characters up till this point, Marcus?
No, solid outing so far. Trina's been great. She's, she has a connection with the audience that most people that never even, never get through an entire career run. She's basically in a lot of ways like the female Rey Mysterio, where you don't hear anyone having anything bad to say about this girl at all. Everybody loves her. I mean, just the support that I'm pretty sure she brings to anywhere she goes from the Samoan community alone.
Samoan community.
Uh, is enough to get ire on her. But she definitely, like I said, it was mutually beneficial because she got eyes on the product that were otherwise not going to be watching at all, if for no other reason than just to see her. And then, which brings another, added to the product, and she was going to be able to benefit because she's going to be able to control a lot of what she does in terms of the character work and the music and all that, and certainly get the matchup she's, deserving to have. So, mutually beneficial. And yeah, like you said, they certainly need to capitalize. I don't know how long she's going to be there, but if she's going to be there, uh, for a while, and they can potentially get her to re-sign depending on where this goes with this title picture. It could be something really cool going forward. So yeah,
I'm optimistic. I am. I think they have some opportunity to do some unique stuff coming up, and I think they're building up to Trinity winning the title. Shocker. But unlike past instances, I think they're going about it the best way possible
Yeah.
because they're having her earn it. So I think this is a good thing. Um, this was a hell of a match. The ABC versus Subculture. One, I love Subculture. That's a great name. Flash Morgan Webster's a hell of a hand. Mark Andrews has really developed since his last time in Impact. I have not watched him because he was with 205 Live, I think, and then he was with NXT UK.
Yeah.
So I haven't watched any of those properties. So I haven't seen him in a while. As far as Austin and Bay, um, I'm glad they're not doing Ace Bay because that was dumb. Although they are kind of doing Ace Bay Club, which is what ABC means, and it's not great, but it's better. These four cats, man, holy hell! Marcus, round of applause, and like actually like do the circle, like actually make a round, because these
Yeah,
four
man.
cats really delivered.
I mean, they've been, I think it's been, a stroke of genius putting the titles. Obviously, they was on. You can't go wrong with the guns in any scenario, but putting the titles on these guys post a fantastic run in New Japan, in that tag tournament, hot off the presses with that, and having these guys come together and really bring out the best in each other. Obviously, respective, singles competitors accomplished in their own right, but together these guys have been absolutely cooking, and then they bringing in tag teams like TMDK, the newer version of TMDK, and obviously the Guns, and like you said, these guys up close, they really are, you know, uh, making the tag division as hot as the X of certainly the world title picture. So yeah, these guys are gonna hold those belts. It feels like until they want to drop them, because anytime you think they're out of it, it's a a fold, a 1, 2, 3, and a two sweet, and it's a wrap.
Hell of a tag team. Looking forward to what they do together. I think pairing them with like Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger and kind of doing like a sleazy stable would be great. That would be
Yeah,
my thought.
or just string them along and tell them they're gonna give them a tag title shot, and then just have them basically stand in the way of them having to do opponents be like, oh, y'all want to fight us? Y'all got to go against them, and just like promising like title shots to both sides, but never giving them to anybody until obviously Scott D'Amore has to step in. So yeah,
That's not a bad idea. My
yeah,
whole thought was trying to find who the next four guys are for Impact. You have your four pillars in AEW. You had your Jungle Jack, your MJF, or AKA the Jack Off.
yeah,
You have Darby Allen, and then
Sammy Guevara.
Sammy Guevara. Now, I would say Ricky Starks over Sammy Guevara personally, but whatever. But like for me, like who would be the four guys for Impact? And I think Bay and Ace are two
Hmm.
easily. And
Yeah,
I'm thinking like guys like 30-ish and under. I would say maybe Gresham might be
okay.
on that, but he might be a little older for the criteria. And then like I got I struggled like who would be next? And I think that's something like Joe Hendry's 34, so like
Yeah,
he's young-ish, but like not for like a pillar.
yeah, and he's great, and he's been doing putting in a lot of work with this current reign, but I guess you can't call Miguel a pillar necessarily.
He lacks the personality and the charisma, and like that's the one thing that I think holds him back.
Yeah,
And like Callahan's not young, Jake Chris isn't young, Swan's not that young,
yeah.
Saban's 40.
Edwards is what, 34?
Edwards is like 39 or
Mm,
40. Like he's deceptively old. Kazarian's 45. Moose is pushing 40. Yuya is young, but he's alone. A space Loan, not
yeah,
Laloane. Like no, no.
yeah,
Like he's alone from Japan. It's like he can't be counted. Macklin is, I think, 34.
How old is
36.
Steve? How old is Steve?
Crazy Steve, like 37, 38, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So, like, really, like, when you think about young, up and coming names, it's like Ace and Bay, and then, like, that's it. Maybe Gresham.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be cool if they could get that kid that
Gresham's
faced off.
35. So, like, if Gresham's part of the pillar, then so's Henry.
Yeah, it'll be cool if they get it, but he's probably going to just thrive off better in Japan. Travis Knight,
Yeah. Yeah,
it'd be cool if they could lock him down, but he'd probably be better off in New Japan with the level of competition that he's at right now.
I think he is part of New Japan. I think
Yeah,
whatever we've seen from him is just a loan.
yeah,
Like Flash Morgan Webster would be a great get, although he's 33. So like even like he's not young. Like the
he,
roster's not old by any means.
yeah,
Like you got a lot of guys in their athletic prime. Like even Macklin's in his prime, but like Ace Austin and Bay I think are like 26 and 30 respectively. Ace is 26 and Bay is 27.
yeah.
And they're your youngest hitters right now. So like you want to find two more, and I don't know who else that would be. Like Gresham's 35, Hendry's 34, and like they're great, and like you want them in the title scene eventually.
Now speaking of deceptively, how old? Because I know he's smooth faced. How old is Bailey?
Baby.
Mike Bailey.
Oh Bailey. Oh yeah, there you go. 33 probably, because he missed a lot of time due to a
Be
deportation issue.
yeah,
Let's see. I know he's over 30. Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey is 32. So I would say he's on the upper echelon of yes, he counts, but barely. So like you have Bailey, you have Bay and Ace, and I think we would have to do some deep diving for
it's
the fourth
yeah.
guy.
It's interesting. I didn't think they was gonna let him go because he was real promising. But how old was Big Jake something?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think he's 30.
Yeah, I was like, y'all could have. I'm like, y'all had
33.
like y'all could have slid him in there to the X or whatever. I mean, y'all let Alexander have that great reign. And it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. That whole thing, like y'all could have like something was putting on some real solid matches. I'm like, y'all let this guy go.
Can I just say that when you said Big Jake something, it literally sounded like you were saying Big Jake. What's his name?
Big Jake, who
Something or other.
oh
And like that, I'm like, yeah, yeah, Jake. I know who you're talking about. And I goes, oh no,
yeah
no, that's actually his name.
yeah.
And
Uh,
he's been doing a lot of indie stuff. Like he wrestled 60 odd matches last year, and most of them were not in Impact. And this year he's already up to 20 or 19. And he's mostly doing work with Glory Pro Wrestling. He's done one with House of Glory, and then what's Super Kick, and then AAW. So I hope he lands somewhere because he could be very valuable. Speaking of landing places, MLW is bringing in Snitsky, El Hijo del Vikingo. I don't know what they're doing with their current roster, but
yeah, I saw that headline when you put it up. Shout out a certain wrestling website never ceases to disappoint.
right. The Von Erichs are also free agents too, joining Richard Holiday. And Marshall Von Erich, I have very big feelings for. I think Marshall Von Erich could be a headliner on his own. I don't know if he would bail on his brother to do so, but if Impact signed the Von Erichs, Marshall would be your fourth pillar right off the bat. He's also the one who wrestles in his bare feet because he's a lunatic. And it would be a nice full circle because their first real big match came in 2014, so about 9 years ago when they did Slammiversary and they were in the wrong tag corners. It happens. Speaking of it happens, Trey goes over on Saban and some shenaniganry. They're gonna run it back at against All Odds, so I'm gonna be very happy about that because I'm a big Saban guy. We had a six-way to determine the number one contender to match 4 against all odds. It was Eddie Edwards, Frank Kazarian, Johnny Gresham, Moose, Yuya Uemura, and Alex Shelley, and Shelley gets the win. I know they're not going to have Shelley beat Macklin, and after the main event of this week's pay-per-view, I kind of hope they don't, because like there's a part of me that's like, okay, is Macklin going to be the blood god? Is he going to be the war champ? Because if he is, he has found me a reason to be invested in him. So, but then
Oh,
again, like seeing Shelley win a world title in Columbus would be aces.
yeah, yeah, but I gotta write this date down. You said you could potentially be invested in this season.
Yeah, it's
May 30th.
May 30th, 2023. I may be invested in Steve Macklin.
Yeah, I mean, I guess somebody need to take that spot. You know, Biss has been gone for years. Brand was supposed to fill that spot. We know how that worked out. So, um, and PCO technically, was already doing that somewhere else. So Macklin's going to be that, blood and guts guy.
So I made the mistake of watching the events at my girlfriend's. So she walks in and sees Macklin stapling PCO's face. That was not what I was hoping to introduce her into wrestling, but it happened. So we're gonna move on. There was some shock and awe, if you will.
Yeah.
Speaking of shock and awe, Jordan Grace is apparently a free agent, although she did show up on the Impact tapings after Under Siege. So like, I don't know how long she's going to be with the company, but she lost to Jordan. She lost to Deanna Prazzo. I know Impact is going to try to re-sign her, and frankly, there has not been one Impact wrestler to leave Impact Wrestling and do better elsewhere in maybe 6 years. Like Brian Cage is a borderline jobber, right? Taya Valkyrie is a jobber. John Morrison has bounced around to 2 different companies, and he's doing okay in MLW, but he's still not their top guy, and he was Impact's top guy. So like,
Yeah. Aries is basically defunct.
yeah, Aries is basically persona non grata. EC3 is a shell of his former self. Pentagon, granted, Pentagon wasn't as great in Impact as he was in Lucha Underground, but even in AEW, he's not as great as he was in Impact. He was a headliner in Impact. So, like, if you're looking, if the goal is money, and I don't want to chastise anyone for chasing, the dollars, because money is important in life. It's not something that we wish was important,
Yeah.
but it is. So if Jordan's just looking for the biggest contract, fair, go get it. But if she's looking for where she's going to be the best used, do you want to be
Yeah.
Minchim? Do you want to sound like an ice cream flavor? Go to WWE. You want to be the next person to lose to Jade Cargill? Go to AEW. You want to be the headliner in a promotion that actually promotes women's wrestling? Stay in Impact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it feels like the only reason, because at this point, the whole narrative is in her Impact current run is that she can't beat Deanna.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the reason why that narrative is persisted is because this contract thing has been up in the air. But we've talked about that. Like, even if we didn't want it, even if we wanted on Grace, if Deanna is the one that's actually dependable in terms of a lockdown contract, in a way, you go with the one that's committed. Because we talked about, how the, titles have been held with people who are just kind of using the company as a stepping stone, and then when they, are done with it, the title's in flux and the title pictures in flux and whatnot. So at least they've gotten better with that, but it just sucks because it feels like Grace is at, probably the best point in her career in terms of aesthetic and in ring prowess and whatnot, and she's kind of putting herself into a corner because she could and would be on top right now. I would imagine if this situation wasn't up in there, and if she's trying to hold out and negotiate for more bucks, that may or may not happen depending on how the company's feeling. I don't know if the Moore's the one that handles that or whatnot, but like I said, we'll see what happens. But Deanna's no slouch. She's been a stalwart, so she's greatly benefited uh, from being in the company. Turns, I guess what you said, 6 years since somebody's benefited. When did Lashley leave? Because he may be the only one that's
So with Lashley, I would say he when I say benefit, I mean upward trajectory.
yeah,
I would not say Lashley was upward trajectory when he went to WWE. I would say it's he kept pace because he was the top guy in Impact for sure.
yeah.
And while he's not the top guy in WWE, he's a former multi-time WWE champion for a reason. Let's see, was it 2019, 2018, 2018? So he was 7 years ago.
Gotcha. Yeah, I figured he kind of slipped out of the window for that. But yeah, yeah. Like I said, hopefully they managed to re-sign her. I mean, obviously there's other places she could go, but like you said, she wouldn't be. I mean, Ty was supposed to be this huge big signing and debut and whatnot, and she kind of just got, like you said, kind of tossed to the side for a completely different area with somebody else. So, we'll see how that turns out. But with Trent coming in, they not lacking with the women. And I don't know if Mickey's done or not, but I would imagine she'll try to fall back in that place somewhere. It's been fun, must admit, seeing little Lish get up in people's faces during this whole title scene.
Yeah, love me some Lish. Hopefully they do more with her. All right, and then the main event was Macklin going over PCO in a no DQ match. This was a hell of a match, and considering PCO was like pushing 60. That man still does not care about his long-term health. He is 55 years old, and he was doing planchas and flippadoodas and do the flippies and all the fun stuff. Then he got his face stapled, Marcus. He got his face stapled.
Yeah, that take you back to some of them Sabu days. Who, ironically enough, I guess we will be talking about coming up soon. But it did take me back to Ring of Honor. God bless the dead, and Jay when he faced off with Adam Cole when he put the thumbtacks in it. Well, maybe it was Cole that put the thumbtacks in his mouth and super kicked him.
Yeah, and that spot scared the hell out of me because, like, if you accidentally swallow one, oof.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, not great. All right. Any final thoughts on Under Siege?
I mean, hell of a show, hell of a show. The Impact has been really consistent with these shows, man. It's been some good stuff. I mean, it says a lot about this show that I saw people that don't even really make it an intention to watch Impact at all uh, mention stuff that popped up on the radar. So, they made waves, and I think that match in particular, main event, has something to do with it. So,
Find,
kudos.
finding a way to embrace the athleticism that wrestling has with your subculture and your ultra violence, I think is a great way to get noticed. Plus, having a strong women's roster. I don't
Absolutely.
know how much of that is going to help you transition into like bigger markets and more fans,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where if you don't have it, they're going to hit you for it. And if you have it, you can at least say, "Well, we have a great women's division."
Yeah.
And for people who care about like culture wars and shit, that's a great fucking note, a trump card, if you will, a get out of jail free card when we're talking about wrestling. Like, yeah, but Impact does better women's wrestling. It may not be a big deal to most people, but it's a big enough deal to some people that you need to have a really good one. And Impact
Absolutely.
has arguably the best.
Man, this why they got Trent. That's why they got Trent. You talk about characters for a second, like you got to pat PCO up on the back, like he's one of the last of the Mohicans, if you would, that's just fully committed to this 100% non-believable character in terms of because we know how far the curtain's been pulled back. Like Undertaker was really probably that last holdout, but in terms of the realm of, I guess, genre of character, like PCO is basically Frankenstein,
Mm-hmm.
and the way the man commits is like it's insane. I still remember the like he's not as big, obviously nobody is, but he had a kaiju match with Jonah. Like that's insane.
It is. It is. All right. Let's move on to Double or Nothing. I have some thoughts on this show.
This whole show was one big dusty finish.
Yeah. Oh.
That's all it was. Match after match. I'm so glad I like watched it in highlights on YouTube. Shout out to the people on YouTube who do them. Cause I'm like, there was no way in hell this match. What it went 3 hours? The show did altogether.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No way in hell I was gonna sit through. I'm like, wait a minute. They doing the same stuff every match? No, no, no.
So let's start with the pre-show. Is the Hardys and Hook with Isaiah Cassidy defeating Ethan Page and the Guns. I love the Guns. I love Billy Gunn. Not a fan of them not together. Uh, it's weird to see Jeff Hardy at this place in his career being a pre-show guy, but you know you are, and I'm really thinking we need to finally elevate Hook because like pre-show really. We then had Orange Cassidy win a Blackjack Battle Royal, and let's see who was all in. Tony
Defended his,
Nese,
yeah.
Ari Davari, Commander, Kip Sabian, Chuck Taylor, The Blade, The Butcher, Bandito, Lee Moriarty, Trent Beretta, Keith Lee, Ray Phoenix, Juice Robinson, Jay White, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, Dustin Rhodes, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Big Bill, which is Big Cass.
Yeah.
So let's just point this out. Jay White is a headliner doing curtain jerking duties. Juice Robinson's one of the best untapped talents in the league, in the sport, doing curtain jerking duties. Keith Lee, granted, I think they're getting the most out of Keith Lee because even though some people simp for this dude for some reason, I think his ceiling is very low. But still, he was supposed to be a big deal. Same with Commander, whatever, however we're pronouncing that. Bandito, like these are some Ricky Starks. These are dudes you could build a promotion around, and they're jobbing. Now, granted, Orange Cassidy's another one of these cats that you can build a promotion around. I think he's got a gimmick that makes him. Now people are going to overreact to what I'm about to say, but he's the Randy Savage of his generation in the regards that he is such a unique character. You will never not know who he is.
I also think he's another one that gets left out of that pillar conversation when it comes to that company.
Yeah, he's deceptively old, Howard. He's like 38.
Mm.
He might even be older than that. He's 39. Just turned 39.
Oh,
but,
wow, he's good.
Yeah. But he's someone that I think you can still build a promotion around. Because it's not like Adam Cole's not 36. He's 30.
In the hair.
He's 30. In the hair, he's 102. Baby. He defeated Chris Jericho in an unsanctioned match with Sabu as a special guest enforcer. That was the weirdest twist to this whole thing. I advocate for using older wrestlers who can't go anymore, so like I have no problem with that. Adam Cole being the one to bring him in, however, was interesting because Adam Cole's kind of like. Now listen, I don't like bringing race into things. Marx is already rubbing his hands. Yes, finally he can do something.
It is your turn now.
Adam Cole thinks mayonnaise is spicy. All right? Adam Cole thinks 36 is too fast in a 35. Adam Cole thinks cats are too high maintenance. He's not someone that I would ever dub extreme. He thinks extreme is when he accidentally chips a nail trying to separate Legos. Like, if we're thinking of guys who would be associated with Sabu, I wouldn't include Adam Cole in the first 1,000 names of active wrestlers. So it was weird.
Yeah,
It was weird. It was weird. But
yeah.
not unappreciated. Not unappreciated. Marcus, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I was gonna add right quick. He's the guy that thinks it's sacrilege to blowing the old Nintendo cartridges. And that's when everybody did.
Yeah.
He
He's
knew
the
what
one
it
who got
was.
mad at you for doing it. Like, you'll ruin it. It doesn't need to be blown in. It just needs to be jiggled. You just need, and truthfully, he wouldn't be wrong in that. Like, blowing never worked. It's just the fact that sometimes it needs to be realigned. But
Yeah,
he'd still be that prissy little bitch. He was Adam Banks without the skill. He was Cake Eater without the cake.
that's hilarious. But yeah, this match was what you expected it to be, man. And you know, Jericho's full on Jericho, and they had all shenanigan with the club, and I mean with his appreciation side and whatnot. And obviously, Britt was gonna come in and get her come up as with Jericho and whatnot, and in the end, you know, Cole came out on top as expected. Uh, like I said, like you, I did not expect the Sabu thing, but I guess that was, you know, pleasant surprise ultimately. But yeah, we'll see where this goes. You know, he might not very well be done with Jericho because Jericho is somebody that very much holds a grudge to the point where he's still blowing fireballs in people's face.
Can we also just agree that Jericho is not the worker that he used to be 4 or 5 years ago? I know people like to lie to themselves, but Jericho is stiff, unathletic, and dull. I wouldn't build anything around him but a sarcophagus. But speaking of building things, FTR defeated Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal and built a structure around my heart. I can't keep watching Jeff Jarrett lose. Jeff Jarrett's older than Chris Jericho and moves like he's 20 years younger than he actually is.
And has a better head of hair than both him and Cole.
Yep. Yeah, yes, he does. Jarrett's fantastic. Love Jarrett. Jarrett should be a tag team champion. No. Strike that. Jarrett should be defeating MJF on a nightly basis for the belt.
Only to then be challenged by it's
Oh my God! Do you know how aroused I would be?
Shout out to the girlfriend. Uh, oh man, that was that. I'll tell you, talk about a classic TNA, you know, moment right there.
Speaking, yeah, TNA, yeah, yeah. Jarrett needs more than what he's being given. Though he was not brought in to wrestle specifically, he was brought in to manage the live event scene. So him wrestling is just him having fun.
Yeah.
It's like I'm fine with it.
And finally brought as JR would call her, the Jezebel, into the fold.
Yeah, she kabonged somebody. Who was it?
I think she bought. Who did she bomb? Yeah, I feel like it was a chick she bombed.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
It wasn't Ty Conti, but it was like someone, maybe Anna Jay. Is that right?
Yeah, I won't say it was Anna Jay.
I think that's who it was. I don't know. And it was terrible for him. It really was. Like, it barely broke. And I'm just like, you should have let your husband do that. Or, like, giving you, like a smaller, what are those smaller ones called?
A banjo?
No, because banjos are pretty big. A ukulele. She should have used a ukulele. Got the torque needed to break it. Speaking of getting the torque needed to break things, well, I don't know why we're doing Christian Cage at 50 in ladder matches, considering he has a history of head injuries. But obviously, AEW was like, listen, you're not going to do any actual bumps. Wardlow's 300 pounds. He's going to do all the bumping. And I'm sure Wardlow was pissed when he was told that. So despite the fact that Wardlow won the match, it was Wardlow who was doing all the stupid spots. I'm just saying, like, don't bring me... He's 35, by the way. Don't bring me Nolan Ryan and say he can still pitch 100 miles an hour. I know he can. Don't bring me Michael Jordan and tell me he can still dunk from the free throw line. I know he can't. Don't put Christian Cage in matches I know he can't do anymore. I don't know why this is such a shocking revelation. She's
Yeah, he's one of my favorites of all time. But Christian these days, his character is basically like, okay, what style of turtleneck is he gonna have this week?
I will say I do like his Steve Jobs turtlenecks. That's
Yeah,
a
no,
solid
it's
look.
it's a thing. Nobody else is doing it, I'll tell you that.
Then we had Tony Storm winning the women's championship from Jamie Hayter in 3 minutes. Love that women's division.
Well, I think she's injured, correct?
Jamie Hayter, probably. I don't care.
Which, which there's some irony here with this particular group, but we digress.
Yeah, and their heels, which I didn't know. I would have thought that Ruby Soho, Soraya, and Tony Storm, three very popular ex WWE talents, were going to be very loved, but AEW's booking favors the family over the talent, which is why Horseface and Balding Boy constantly get high rankings.
Horseface and Balding Boy.
The worst superheroes of all time. Then we had the open house rules 6-man tag team match for the AEW trios titles. You had the Acclaimed with Billy Gunn tagging up to take on the House of Black. I still don't know why the fuck Buddy Matthews has chosen Buddy Matthews to be his name, but Julia Hart has a more intimidating name than Buddy Matthews. House of Black wins. Billy Gunn looked fantastic. He's nearly 60. It's weird. I don't know what he's doing, but the deal with the demon he made has clearly been very good to him. Then we got maybe the worst back-to-back 10 minutes of the show. And I know a lot of people are like goo goo gaga over this. Jade Cargill defeated Taya Valkyrie to retain the TBS championship, which, by the by, the TBS and TNT titles are terrible names. They are gross. They are poorly designed. They have, like, if I was a wrestler and they're like, we're going to give you a TNT title shot, I'm going to be like, no, I'm good. I would rather, like, I will go job out for Danhausen because at least that would be entertaining.
Hey, give me a shot of that All Atlantic. I like that All Atlantic better than
I'm assuming I'm not good enough for the All Atlantic. Like, if they're only going to give me a TNT title shot, I know that my spot on the roster is near the bottom.
a TNT title that's primarily defended on a TBS show.
Don't make it make sense. It won't. It's stupid. These are dumb belts. These are dumb, ugly-looking coin belts. I keep waiting for someone to throw the belt down like it's a Pog Slammer. Because it's not a championship belt. It's not. It's gross. It's gross and I hate it. But Jade Cargill with Mark Sterling and Layla Gray defeated Taya Valkyrie. And then I was like, we're going to do an open challenge. And then who's going to come out? It's Chris Statlander. Oh, my God. And she won. Oh, my God. And I'm like, this is so dumb. I don't have a problem with Statlander being the one that finally unseats Jade Cargill. But this didn't do anything for Statlander. I know it was designed, and like this is the thing that really pisses me off because when you have someone get the rub, it's supposed to be done in a way that puts them over. Right now, all I see is Statlander wasn't good enough to beat Jade Cargill one-on-one in a match where each side had time to prepare. So now I see her in a lesser light. And I know this was done to protect Jade, and I don't know why. Because I know they're high on Jade, but you'd have to be high on PCP to think that Jade's going to be somehow a huge headliner for you. Because with all due respect in the world, she is beautiful, a very hard. You do not have a body like that if you are not a hard worker. She is apparently a very kind person. I think she has a famous husband who's like a day trader or a movie star or an astronaut. Maybe he killed Waco Bell or shot Jesse James.
Yeah, I want to say he played baseball.
Was it Curtis Granderson? I don't feel like that's right.
About it, but yeah, she's pretty much she repeatedly says she doesn't need to do wrestling except for like
Brandon Phillips.
yeah.
And Brandon Phillips was a very good second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds for a long time. So, yes. These two do not need to work. As long as they have saved the money, they're good.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Marcus, do you think this was a good way to get Statlander over?
This was weird as shit. It
When Marcus
it was
swears,
weird.
that's when you know you've really fucked
It
up.
was weird. Look, everything you said about Jay, but we've talked about how what the summation of her run has been, and it's not been memorable. It was cool on Twitter seeing people talk about there's no conspiracy about Bianca and Jay losing at the same time, or whatever. It was. I don't know what's going on with the whole Bianca thing, but she needs a break, or they're about to do something, a significant shift. They might have took it off just so they could do the belt swap, and they didn't want to make Bianca look weird because her reign is specifically with the red title, but she's on SmackDown, so that's WWE screwing themselves. But here, this came off dumb. Like, okay, they set up the precedent for her doing these open challenges, but she normally would do these open challenges against somebody that was a blowover for her. Barely breaking a sweat. She did more than break a sweat with Ty, even though I did think it was weird that this whole feud has been based around them having the same finisher, and for whatever final reason, Jade could kick out of her own, but Taya couldn't kick out of her own. So whatever, that was weird. Then she throws the open challenge, which was weird. I'm like, this you can do that with a jobber. Like, you really just almost lost your title. Then Chris Atlanta comes out there and beats her, and like you said, it don't really do nothing for her, and it really comes off making Jade look dumb because what this really was, it felt like if somebody called out somebody that had money in the bank to cash in on them after like a cage match or something, and then they lost,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just not. I don't. It's weird. Like, they got her to a certain number. They got her to 60 and then she dropped it. Um, but I don't really think it served. It really kind of pushes all three of them in a bad light because it pushes Taya really to the back of the line. It makes Jade look stupid for throwing the challenge, and it doesn't help Statlander look strong because she didn't beat her straight up. So, I don't, it got people talking, but I don't think it was for the right reason.
You're not wrong. So Statlander's the champ. Then we got MJF taking on Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. I didn't watch this match. I don't give a shit. I like Darby. I like Jungle Jack. I have no interest in the other two, so I refuse to watch.
Yeah, man.
MJF has taken his shtick maybe a little too far, and I'm good on them never being things ever again.
Yeah, despite I think some people have said in outside interviews that the guy's not at all what he seems on screen. Whatever. It is what it is. I don't, I've never really clicked with him as a character. You've said some entertaining stuff and been entertaining at certain points on the mic, but in terms of being a champion, I just turn it when he's on. Um, they for me they could damn near put it back on Jericho. Uh, it to a certain degree, but yeah, the match was it was a lot of jumping off stuff and a lot of moments and whatnot, but ultimately it went to MJF. God knows how long this reign is going to be, but uh, it is what it is. I guess they kind of boiled it down to what was Guevara going to do, and then I guess he tried to play into the whole family dynamic because apparently Ty is pregnant. I didn't know
Ty
that.
Conti.
Yeah, Ty Conti's. Yeah, not Taya. Sorry. Ty Conti is pregnant. Which when you look at everything that we've seen, you kind of surprised it didn't happen sooner. But uh, yeah, they tried to play that whole thing. But yeah, they got the four pillars thing out of the way. I don't know where they're going with this after this, but it is what it is. And he only continued to do his MJF stick in the press conference once again, leaving Tony Khan looking dumbfounded by yet another employee.
Like, it's okay to not have people you don't trust on stage. Like, you can say no. You can be like, listen, Max is a dick. I don't trust him not to make us look stupid, so he's gonna sit his ass out because fuck him. Right? Like, you can say that. Like, I would. I would outright be like, Yeah, he's a dick. Fuck him. Because like if he's gonna make us look bad in interviews, like I'm not gonna, Tony Khan's making it really easy for me to go to WWE or whatever the fuck he is because I'm getting bored. Like I'm just gonna be like, listen, he's a little jackass, and I fucking hate him, and I pour bleach in my eyes whenever I have to see him wrestle. I would actively start destroying whatever credibility he has if he's gonna be this. Because I have to imagine because there's no way. Like even if you're like the most like Max can be like, Tony, I would die for you. I am black and gold until I piss myself dead. Right? Even if he's that behind the scenes. You have to imagine Tony Khan's like, Max, did you have to bury us in your promo? Because he does it a lot. And I would just be like, all right, listen. You can play the game. You can play that game. Speaking of playing games, I fucking hate Anarchy in the Arena, and if I never see another one, it'll be too goddamn long. It's the fucking worst. Oh, I don't care about Hangman Page. I don't care about the Blackpool Combat Club. Dumb name. It was dumb when Regal was there. This is the least interesting feud I've seen all year. Like, the first one was entertaining because, like, Hangman was on a horse and it was in an empty Jacksonville Jaguars arena and there was cheerleaders there. So, like, yay, cheerleaders. But beyond that, it was just, it was gross. And, like, it worked better because it was a cinematic match.
Mm.
But this wasn't. This was dumb. This was dumb and dumb. Dumb and dumb, 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 dumb. And then, like, in, like, 2 months, we're going to be getting blood and guts. And it's like, what's the fucking point? I don't know. Mark, any thoughts on this one before we move on to Night of Champions?
No, I did not watch it.
I do not blame you. So let's talk about Night of Champions because this was a show. Was it a good show? No. Did people enjoy it? Maybe. I don't want to speak for anyone. I'm sure someone enjoyed it. So much damn content. They only had 7 matches, thankfully, as opposed to everyone else this weekend who has had 13. So Seth freaking Rollins defeated AJ Styles to win the tournament finals for the inaugural. It's not the inaugural. It's the same continuation. I'm pretty sure it's the same
That's
history.
big hope. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not the inaugural. It's the reintegration or the inaugural. It's the return to form. But Seth freaking Rollins defeated AJ Styles, and I'm freaking done with that belt already. It looks like someone decided that they were going to spray paint Banksy stuff over like the Mona Lisa. I don't give a shit how much you like Banksy. You don't ruin a classic. And that's what they did with this ugly ass generic, corpo relationship type of nonsense. Like, we're a family here. We care about you. We want you to be better for us. And it's just like, this feels weird and gross and homogenized and soulless. Like, what? No. So, like, fuck it. Yeah, it's a consolation belt. AJ Styles even says so. And the consolation wrestler being Seth Rollins should carry it, because fuck him. Trish Stratus defeated Becky Lynch by pinfall. Didn't see that coming. Love that it happened. Marcus, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts
Yeah.
on the opener, too?
Open up. Look, AJ Styles and Rollins. But how you may feel about them personally, they won't disappoint in the ring bell to bell. But ultimately, outside of just seeing them go at it again, the result was never in doubt. Created a title that was specifically for the Raw brand. And AJ Styles is a SmackDown guy. So we knew what was happening, and Rollins has been carrying a lot of momentum, mostly off the back of that song. And I guess also with his weird ass outfits that I would imagine he coordinates with his wife. So yeah, well, not so much coordinate, maybe borrow out of closet, but yeah. So that was never in doubt. And what was the next thing? Uh,
Trish and Becky.
yeah, Trish has been brilliant. She still looks drop dead gorgeous. Playing with a lot of the themes of old. We're integrating a lot of basically a lot of newer versions of old outfits, and she's basically just picking up where she left off. And then just Becky's just a new target. So she's been really good. I think she thrives in this heel role. And she's been fun to see. I don't, she's never not fun to see as Trish freaking Stratus, but um, yeah, this has probably been one of the better things to watch, certainly with the women, because there's not really a lot going on of relevance with the women for as many people as they got on that roster. So thank you, Trish.
It's great that Trish is having this second run. I don't know how long she's intending on sticking around. I think through at least SummerSlam, but she's added some serious star power to Raw.
Yeah,
So kudos to that. Gunther defeated Mustafa Ali in the most predictable match of the night, besides one.
yeah,
So poor Mustafa Ali. I remember they're like, yeah, he was going to be world champion. They're like, Kofi took his spot because he was injured. I'm like, listen, motherfuckers. Ali was never going to win a world title. I don't know who sold you that crack, but stop smoking it. It's making you stupid. Mustafa Ali has the body of an average Joe. He has the hairline of an average Joe. He has the moveset of an average Joe and the charisma of an average Joe. I like the dude. Good dude. Good human being. Solid human being. Big fan. For
yeah,
a wrestler,
yeah.
couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
Get that, even more so than AJ Styles. Get that man a L'Oreal commercial.
Like
Um,
you could put this man in a lineup of little people wrestlers from Mexico, and you could tell me he's the only person in the lineup that's 6 foot, and I still could not pick him out of a lineup of people who are 3'5" and under. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And you're telling me he was going to be a world champion? No, fuck you.
yeah, get him a L'Oreal Trust and Makes commercial. It's a lot they could do. Like I said, if they were still doing some of and God knows it's not exactly huge on quality, but they could really probably do something with him if they were still doing movies, um, and put him in that context, or like we were talking about with the whole Fiend thing, animation. I think he thrive in that space, but 'cause I think he got a lot of appeal, and he's always the guy that he was the guy that came up with the handstand. They had to do the handstand count out of the RKO, and obviously he gave Gunther some fight, but it's never in doubt, you know. Like you said, even with the Kofi thing, as soon as you mentioned the Kofi thing, the line that came to me from Remember the Titans when Peter was like got upset because Sunshine with the restaurant.
You don't want to know.
You don't want to know the fact that you wasn't gonna be champion. Like you know what it is, man. It's Mustafa Ali. He's the male natty. Like you can't have good stuff. Um. So yeah, man. Yeah, Gunther just kind of, I'm not gonna say he had a night off, but he certainly didn't need an icy hot bath out of the match.
Listen, Gunther had a night off. I'll say it. I'll fucking say it. Like, that dude did nothing. Mustafa Ali was in there for 8 minutes, and I guarantee you he's taking a nice bath. Listen, I did yard work for on Sunday. I did a lot of yard work, like 12 hours worth, maybe 10 hours worth. And like I'm still feeling it. I've taken 4 hot baths since then to try to loosen up my back and thighs. I'm telling you, whatever I'm going through, Mustafa Ali some 4 days later is going through worse still. Because Gunther goes hard, or he doesn't go at all.
Yeah, and that's just Ali's chest.
Yeah. Speaking of chest, Asuka defeated Bianca Belair, taking off the belt that has been weighing down the shoulders and chest of Bianca Belair. She has been champion for 400 days?
Mm-hmm.
And Asuka's got this great new heel gimmick, and people love the Asuka, so the Asuka won, and Bianca's like, all right. And, so now we just got to take the belt off of Rhea Ripley and then have the belts return to the shows that they're supposed to be on.
Yeah, since y'all wanted to color brand these things, or brand these things via the shows, which is stupid, but whatever.
Speaking of, by the way, apparently Mustafa Ali and Baron Corbin have been sent back down to NXT, at least temporarily.
Yes, yes. Corbin jumped my boy tonight. Hayes after the match. By the way, he looks like a naked mole right now.
Yeah, he does.
The tats. He looks like a little bit of a malnourished Eric Young with the tats.
I'm still saying that Corbin should take up a Muay Thai gimmick.
Mm,
He's a former pro boxer or former Gold Gloves boxer. He's not pro boxer, but
yeah,
I think he could actually get over if he was treated as a legitimate athlete.
yeah.
But Vince McMahon is an idiot, and here we are.
It's ironic enough to see where that guy is, but like the irony is he has one of the most protected finishers in the business.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Speaking of protected, Rhea Ripley has been protected during her brief title run, and Natty has been protected during her entire career because somehow she still has a job. Rhea defeating Natty in a minute 10 is about as on brand as you can get with booking. So,
I was just, am I the only one waiting for Dom to come up pregnant? Just me? I
now that would be interesting, and it would definitely set off a culture war. So, I don't know, Marcus. You want to go down that rabbit hole?
don't know. It's just like whenever she got on the mic and was like, "Mommy's always on top," and then they pan the Dom. I'm like, "Hey, ain't no fighting it now, Poppy."
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing. Speaking of not fighting, Cody Rhodes is not being treated well. He's losing left, right, and center. I don't know what they're like. You like, man. Listen, I'm just gonna say this. Even if he does win the world title at this point, it doesn't matter. This dude's gonna be getting bitch slapped left, right, and center by everyone who has a dick. Like if Cody finally beats Roman, it's not gonna be earned. It's gonna be like there's a Star Trek philosophy for Deep Space Nine. The writers came up with this term called O'Brien must suffer, and in the show, there's a guy whose name is O'Brien. He's the chief of engineering. He's one of the more popular characters, played by Cole Meany, great actor. But whenever they do a centric episode about him, it's never easy. He gets imprisoned for 60 years and gets to the point where he kills his cellmate, his only friend, or maybe it was 30 years. But when he kills his cellmate, he wakes up and realizes that it hasn't been 30 years. It's been 15 minutes. And they made him live out 30 years in solitary confinement with one other person to torture him. Like, that's the kind of episodes this motherfucker gets. He doesn't get the easy ones. Like, he's dying every 20 seconds or 20 minutes, whatever it was. Or he's jumping in time or something. He is just getting whipped around. And I feel like that's what they're doing with Cody. Cody must suffer. But the thing is, I don't think O'Brien is a great character because he suffered. I think he's a great character because of his friendships that he made along the way. Just like with Cody, I don't think he's a great character. There's no second part to that. There's no redeeming quality. Cody's a bad character. He's got a stupid fucking tattoo that ruined his career. He's got dumb fucking hair, a finisher that doesn't make any goddamn sense, and he left his own company that he could not get over in. And I'm supposed to believe that they're going to drop Roman Reigns' historic title reign to that schmuck? It's Gunther or nothing. I don't want to hear about Braun Breaker. I don't want to hear about Carmelo Hayes. I don't want to hear about Brock Lesnar. I don't want to hear about Mommy Rhea Ripley. Not AJ Styles, not Seth Rollins. But then again, Seth Rollins is just never at all points in time. It's Gunther or nothing. You may lose to Gunther, or Gunther will beat you. There is no third alternative. But either way, Gunther ends the streak. Cody doesn't... Fuck Cody. I don't care. His fake broken arm, his fake fucking everything. He's a phony. Fake broken arm, fake blonde hair, fake fucking tattoo, fake fucking lifestyle. He solved racism. He hit the peak of his career. He can go the fuck away. And 7 years ago, I was the biggest Cody Rhodes fan you could find. The dude, not as bad as EC3, but had a downfall comparable to EC3. So
Yeah, the only thing I feel like, I think I mentioned this going back and replying to somebody on Twitter the other day. I feel like the only reason people like that, he should have won. I feel more than now that he should have won. I'm like, between the largest story that they're still telling with the bloodline, and the fact that the company has this fetish for getting people to certain milestones when it comes to Reigns, with Reigns, he didn't have a chance in hell of winning. I feel like the only reason why he got slaughtered in that spot was for that line that he threw at Roman, saying that when the bloodline is no longer around him, he's gonna be a chief without a tribe, a champion with no reigns. And that's ultimately, I think he got put in that spot to foreshadow what was coming, not to actually win. Like you said, Gunther at this point is probably the only guy. I don't necessarily think they're gonna put it on one of the Usos, but I think certainly it's gonna be one of those situations where they probably end up costing him the situation, um, or just not being there to help him, which would obviously be the downfall. But yeah, Cody, this whole thing with Lesnar, now they're trying to do the rubber match. He's called Lesnar out. I'm like, I don't. Okay, the first one was a regular match. The second one was a regular match, but it was called a fight. What are you gonna do for the third one?
I
Like
guess we'll just die.
it's just like, what are you like? What are you gonna do? A debate? Um, yeah,
Cody
it's
wouldn't even be able to win that because he thinks the second of the new Star Wars movies was the best of all time. It's like he's an idiot too.
yeah, yeah. It's not good. It's not good. You want to root for the guy? Like I said, he comes off more
I
like a.
don't. I don't want to root
He's
for the
like, I
guy.
don't want to root for the guy. Like I say, fuck him. I say, F everything around him except his dog. Like we still pissed off about the dog and
Yeah, a
suffering
little
from
bit
alcohol.
actually.
Yeah,
A little bit.
still salty about the dog and the pyro incident. And Chad's never getting over the tattoo, so that's a wrap. Um, it's like when chicks get face tattoos. It's like, why?
For me, it's the arc tattoo on the chest.
Between the boobs.
More like on top and like around. It's kind of it's like a lid almost. Um, what was it? Cain Velasquez has one.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
think they're stupid as hell.
yeah, or the bad belly tattoo. Like, I, you know, love Big Dave, but that stomach tattoo that Batista got.
Yeah, not
What the
great.
freak was
Not
that?
great.
Dave, yeah. And this is a weird thing too. So like, people, particularly women, are getting these ass tattoos of lions' heads.
Ew.
Like, I just, it's
We need
disrespectful.
to tone down the fucking tattoos. Like we're good.
It's not a. I get it, but I absolutely don't get it. Uh, and
Yeah.
I don't get why they he's still challenging Brock at this point. Brock is on cruise control, and wasn't believable that he beat him the first time. He didn't have really, even though he came into the match with the cast on, with I guess what they said is his. They tried to say it was his cast was made of adamantium or whatever they were saying. Titanium they were saying it was made out of, and he was using it as a weapon. Still didn't work. So I don't know what they're gonna do for this rubber match, but it can't be a regular match again. So yeah, but that was done. I guess it's main event time.
The team of Kevin Owens and um, Sami Zayn lost or won. I'm sorry, and the Bloodline broke up, and it's dumb. Now, let me say this: I'm fine with breaking out the Bloodline. Sami Zayn went over to Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia and Syria have entered into a negotiations for peace or a ceasefire, and humanitarian aid has been allowed to resume in Syria. I think is what's been going on. Because for Sami Zayn, it wasn't so much about Saudi Arabia killing journalists and gay people and whatnot. It was specifically about what Saudi Arabia was doing to Syria. That was his whole holdup. So the country is moving away from that, at least for right now, and it is what it is. That being said, the match was fine. The Usos accidentally betrayed Roman when one of them, don't ask me which one, fraternal brothers, my ass, Rikishi. One of them kicked Roman by accident, and then the other one was like, "What are you doing?" Then he kicked him in on purpose, and it's like, "Oh, all right." And I thought that was just kind of stupid.
Oh, it wasn't on accident. They ended up trying to help with the match. Ended up double super kicking Solo. Roman came in to
That's what it
chastise.
was. It was Solo the
Yeah,
accidentally kicked.
yeah, they accidentally kick, and because he's been basically physically punking Jimmy for the past few weeks, punking him overall for the last 2 years, but specifically like face mushing and shoving and basically verbally punking Jimmy, and Jay would have to step in and kind of cut it. But this time he put his hand. This time he mushed Jimmy and then put his hands on Jay, and Jimmy snapped. And it was it was something to see, because Jay's been brainwashed. Jimmy's had it up to here, and yeah, the bloodline is crumbling. But I wouldn't be surprised, and uh, tell me if you agree, if by the end of this, Solo end up spiking all three of them and walk away with Paul Heyman.
Now that would be interesting. I would like to see because I think Solo Sokoa has a lot of upward mobility,
Yeah.
and pairing them with Paul Heyman could really work. That could be interesting. Speaking of interesting, let's talk about Battleground because it wasn't. Like if you like it, you like it. More power to you. Let's see. We had 6 matches, which is about right. It's only like a 2-hour show, right?
Yeah.
So we had the former Desmond Xavier Wesley defeating Tyler Bate and Joe Gacy to retain the North American Championship. I like Joe Gacy and Tyler Bate. I don't know why they're in this match though, because I feel like the North American Championship and Wesley specifically are not like big time deals. I don't like what they're doing with Wesley. I don't think they're doing enough with him. So I don't know why you would have someone like Joe Gacy who was 4 months ago in the headlining scene, or maybe it was 5 months ago in the headlining scene, and now he's doing curtain jerking. And as far as Tyler Bate, didn't he just come back to the United States after like a long layoff?
Yeah, it wasn't too long because obviously the UK thing kind of got folded in. So yeah.
Yeah, he only came back last July, I think. September 4th. September 4th. That's when he came back. And it's one of those where, like, he could have been a bigger deal, but they're not really using him as such. So, like, that's disappointing. We have the NXT Heritage Cup. Is that what Noam Dar is the champion of? Because I see him with a little champion signal.
Yeah, he's got the trophy, this Heritage Cup thing that he does. I'm guessing it's but how the match went, it's a number of rounds.
Yeah, it's the
Um,
British Rounds Rules match,
yeah. So
which is kind of similar to what Impact had with the Grand Championship with Billy Corgan.
yeah,
I like that when Noam Dar. Noam Dar is a Jewish, Irish, Scottish. He's a Jewish, Scottish, Israeli Scottish wrestler, and very white meat in all ways. But his entire stablemates are black, and now of course like Powerbomb Jitsu when they see fucking Noam Dar doing their thing, his thing. They post photos of him with like the African customary hat dressing that they have, and it's the funniest shit ever because Noam Dar is like the least African person in the world. But all
yeah.
right, go with it.
From in character, from Alicia Fox to Lash Legend, and with Jakara Jackson and now this other dude that's with him. And apparently, I'm guessing, according to Twitter, because they have nothing but time to dig up people's personal stuff. Apparently, he's also very much like his coffee black in real life too. So,
More
uh,
power to him.
yeah, yeah,
I think women of all flavors and varieties are amazing.
amen.
I'm not curtain that I get super good for black folk, but I like them. I don't have one where I'm like, that's my type. My type changes very often.
Yeah,
It kind of ebbs and flows. Right now, it's my girlfriend, and that's where it's going to stay.
yeah. Hey, that man is a genius. Smart man.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
but it just
I've lived this long for a reason.
But yeah, it's just funny that he's basically the Scottish Kurt Angle.
And go for it. Go for it because you know what? You only get one life. You deserve to live it with people that make you happy. And if he
Absolutely.
wants to be the photo negative in a room, go for it.
But learn from Angle.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
not all the Angles played well.
Don't don't go and get yourself arrested because you got a little too attached.
Yeah, yeah.
Ilya Dragunov defeated Dijak in a last man standing match. I feel like Dijak shouldn't be losing to dudes who are 5'6". That's
Yeah,
just me.
yeah, that Bill Dragunov is just like a real little dragon type that just is built and honed in the form of brutality, both dishing it and taking it. And yeah, you mentioned earlier about like guys like PCO and I guess potential direction that somebody like Macklin is going. This guy's in that same ilk, like the generations of the Sandmans and obviously the Sabus and all those other brutal guys. Obviously, a lot of them stemming from ECW. Like Dragunov, I feel like it's like the evolution of that. Like guys like him, Walter, Sheamus, a lot of these other hard hitting guys, they're a completely different breed. Like it's insane.
I do like Dragunov. I just wish that Dijak was getting more to go with, personally. We had
Yeah,
Gaius or Gallius,
yeah,
Galeus.
Galileo.
Wait, hang on. I have a joke for this. Amadeus, 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 rock me, Amadeus. Mark Coffey and Wolfgang with Joe Coffey. That's weird. Is Joe Coffey hurt? That seems like the likely explanation. They defeated the Creed brothers. I'm just saying you really missed the opportunity of saying that the Creed brothers were cousins to the Steiners. Because they basically are, but they're not. Literally. But they should be. Tiffany Stratton defeated Lyra Valkyria.
Mm-hmm.
Valkyria, I guess. Tiffany Stratton is great. She's not a great wrestler, but have you seen her? She's great.
Yeah, and that moonsault is a sight to behold. She should hold a class on it exclusively for Charlotte.
Yeah. Like we all know why Tiffany Stratton won. Like we don't like you can't see this right now, Marcus, but I'm scrolling through images of Tiffany Stratton. We know why she won. There's no denying why she won. Is she the greatest worker in the company? No.
Yeah, but if they
Does
had
she
to
look the
follow
best in a
up
bikini?
Mandy Rose,
Hard to find a
yeah,
better one.
if they had to follow up Mandy Rose, who was in a completely different class, that's about as close as you was gonna get.
And Tiffany Stratton, unlike Mandy Rose, is an actual athlete. Wasn't she like a gymnast?
Yeah, which would explain the precision and the beauty of that moonsault. Yeah.
So, there's that. And then in the main event, Carmelo Hayes retained over Braun Breaker. I hate rematches, especially automatic ones. I don't
Mm.
care. We knew Braun was going to lose. So what's the point of having the match? You know? Whenever you give me an opportunity or a match or a situation where you're putting two wrestlers in a whatever, a match, a segment, and you know one is going to be devoutly protected, why am I watching this? Like, would you put John Jones against Billy Bob, Bo Bob, B Bob, Bagob? No. Why would you waste a fight with John Jones on South Pakalaki's best no-tooth bar brawler? You wouldn't. So why are we getting rematches with guys like with Braun Breaker, who I adore, by the way, that you know aren't going to go his way? It defeats the purpose of the experience, because the whole thing with wrestling, and again, this is my point of view. So like if you don't share, that's fine. And if you're not named Marcus, you're wrong. If you're Marcus, you can disagree with me, and I will respect you still. But if you're not Marcus, I will not respect you if you don't agree with me. I am omnipotent. and a dick. With wrestling, every moment should leave you hanging in the balance of what will happen. And when you do automatic rematches like this, you are depriving the audience of that, well, maybe he will win. That's why, like, with the Mustafa Ali and Gunther match, I was very much on the band that Gunther was going to win. But also, somebody pointed out, like, if anyone was going to beat him at any other point, it would be Mustafa Ali in Saudi Arabia. Because no one expects it. So, like, there was that catch, that moment where you're like, oh, maybe. I love Braun Breaker. Love him. Love the Steiners. Love him. Didn't think he had a shot in hell. Didn't think he had a shot in hell. Like, there's no point. So, like, why would you put Carmelo Hayes in a situation where he's in a dud main event, where he's the obvious favorite to win? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like that nonsense. That's why I think with New Japan's booking, that's the best way to go, because you'll still have guys like Carmelo Hayes in the main event, but they'll be in a 6-man tag, or they'll be doing non-title matches. They'll still feature them, but not put them in obvious situations where you know they're going to win. Carmelo Hayes has huge upside. Black Shawn Michaels, fantastic. But the only way you get guys over is if you have them do storylines, feuds, matches, where the guys are being tested and explored as a character. You don't do that with a rematch. And Marcus, this is not a new thought for me. I thought this in 1999 when I was watching Backlash. When The Rock took on Stone Cold Steve Austin in a WrestleMania rematch, I even said they're not going to have The Rock lose, and I'm 13. Why are we doing this? So, like, I will sit here and say again, why are we doing this? We know Carmelo's not going to lose. It's the will they, won't they. It's not about, it's not like the Kojak argument from that 70s show where Red's like, listen, I know he figures out the crime. It's how. No, that's not the story for wrestling. The wrestling isn't the how, it's the will. Will they? We don't know. Marcus, you're a big Carmelo Hayes fan. How did you feel about the match? Did you like it?
Yeah, I dug the match. Those two guys are studs, absolutely. Like you said, it really wasn't in doubt. Um, and not gonna flip back and forth, particularly when Carmelo has had an absolute build and rise to the top of the brand ever since he won that breakout tournament. So
I will say, not to cut you off, if these guys were both deep into their careers, both multi-time champions, and this was Hayes' third NXT title reign, yeah, I could see Braun winning it.
yeah,
Because you could do a quick title reign. But when you're doing first to first title reigns, there's an expectation that they're going to be long, because otherwise you make them look bad in hindsight. So, that being said, Marcus, take it back.
yeah, absolutely. 100% right. They wouldn't go do that, and I don't know if they're still towing around because at this point you kind of seen Braun do pretty much all that you probably gonna do, particularly in this new era of NXT. So they might be toying with bringing him up on the main roster. So, because I don't remember him specifically getting drafted. Um, though not much that means anything. Truthfully, going forward, as much as they try to sell it. So, yeah, it was a fine match. Like I said, they both studs. So the in ring was to go hit, but ultimately, like you said, it was a foregone conclusion. And at this point, I'm kind of finding it hard to, outside of Carmelo, Trick, the Creed brothers, the young lady who's with the Creed brothers, somebody like Stratton, who, like you said, knockout gorgeous and very athletic and stuff like that. It's only like a handful of names I can even follow in this particular era of NXT. So um, the investment there is now strong. Wesley, um, and a couple other names, but other than that, it was kind of hard to get back to the area when you saw like I guess the four horsewomen coming up on their own. It's just not the same thing, not the same vibe.
I will say that the women, not the women, I will say that the top talent in NXT 2.0 is arguably better, not better. I would say the top talent in NXT 2.0 is good.
Yeah,
Like, you have about 15 to 20 characters that are very good. But then you have nothing besides them. You have the same 20 names that you're cycling through because you
yeah,
have no one else. Now, with NXT original, you had 30 or 40 or 50 guys who were all very good, but none of them had any characters. 2.0, the characters are spot on. They all are unique, at least the top 20. They're all unique. They all have something to offer that they make you invest in them. But then outside of those top 15, 20 names, it's like, who the fuck cares? Now, in a year or two, that's going to change when they find their own gimmick and their own characters. But right now, what I think NXT 2.0 is doing better than the original NXT is they are developing main roster characters.
Mm.
Now, will they be used properly on the main roster? I don't fucking know. Maybe.
Yeah. I
Right?
mean,
Like anything can happen.
yeah.
I don't
We'll see. I mean, they put Zoe Stark with Trish. That's a hell of a rub, you know.
know. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Maybe this particular area, because we know about NXT call-ups in the past, is just not going well
Nope.
at all. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a batch of Walters or Gunters walking around, and you kind of can't deny. So you know.
So we have two quick news stories we got to hit, and then we're off. Alexa Bliss is out for at least a year. She's pregnante.
Mm.
Pregnante. Preggers. Prego. Pasta sauce. She is sauced up pretty good. Apparently, it was an oops. And now people are wondering, will she ever come back to wrestling? I don't know if the answer is yes. She is 31. She's a wife. She's going to be a mother, hopefully, All things, it's pregnancies are a fucking crapshoot. They are nothing to take lightly. I hope she enjoys it because, I'm told that being pregnant is an experience, and a lot of women like being pregnant. They don't like the actual delivery, which, fair, you're pushing out a bowling ball through a cup-sized hole. Like, yeah, painful. But a lot of people seem to like the experience up until that point, and there's a lot of women that like to get pregnant multiple times because there's apparently there's a what is it? I can't remember what it is. It's a I can't remember it. It's something in the female brain that actually helps them forget how painful it was.
Mm.
I forget what it is. I heard it on Scrubs, I think. But I digress. Bliss may be very happy with the idea of being a wife and a mother, and it's not like she isn't a millionaire 3, 4, 5 times over. So, like, why would she want to come back? Marcus, do you think it's over for Alexa Bliss?
May very well be. I think it's highly likely. Just ultimately, it's one of the having a kid is one of the biggest life changes anybody can have. And certainly when you're in her position, like yeah, obviously like you said, she's still young, but she's a wife. She's about to be a mom. She's been very successful. Not too many things that she hasn't participated in or achieved in WWE.
Hormone. That's the word I was thinking of. Hormone.
Boom!
My bad.
I
I'm
don't know
sorry.
why I don't know why that didn't click for me.
It's a
Um,
hormone. Fucking
yeah,
Christ.
I was like, is he looking for serotonin? I don't know.
It's a hormone.
Yeah, it's yeah, but that's weird. Just yet another reason. God bless women. I'm just thank God every day that I'm not one. Um, yeah, like I just think it's a huge life change, and certainly with we talk about this all the time. Like women's bodies, that's why it's such a tricky thing with women because everybody's not gonna pull a Becky or Mickey or some other women who are looking at them as motivation that they can have a kid and come back and do a lot of stuff. That's not gonna be the story for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's looking at this roster and not too many names that she ain't faced and or beat, and there's not really anything interesting going on despite what's being said or how many names on the roster. She could probably at this point look at what's going on and go, I'm pretty sure they don't have nothing for me. And like you said, if she's done right with her money, she's set. And this just might be the next phase of her life, being a mom. And she could always cut ties for the time being and later down the line come back. But yeah, I mean, just from a fan perspective, I don't see anything that they really have to do for her. Like you said, it was a oops, but you know gloves kind of come off for good when you're married in a lot of ways. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, I wish her the best of luck. This is a amazing time for anybody, in their life. So
And so I looked it up real briefly while you were talking. I don't know how accurate it is, but it used to be a theory that where the hormone would help women forget the intensity of childbirth. But there are some people who debate the efficacy of that theory. But I'm not a scientist or doctor. I heard it once in a show and it seemed pretty
yeah,
medically fair.
I just know that question will never be posed to Christy Hemme.
She remembers. She had
the North,
seven at once.
the the
She
North
remembers.
remembers.
No, Marcus, in this case, the South remembers. Ah,
Oh man.
still looks great at 42, man. Good for Christy. I love Christy. One of my favorites. One of my absolute, sincerest favorite personalities and wrestlers in the history of wrestling. Love her. Fantastic. That being said, one last news story. Impact's doing a 8-4-1 match at the upcoming Against All Odds. I like the concept, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. So basically, it's going to be a 4-on-4 match to start, and then the winning team will then face off in a four-way dance, and the winner of that will go on to Slammiversary in the main event to challenge for the World Championship. The teams are as follows: Bully Ray, Jonathan Gresham, and there's one name. Okay, it's Bully Ray, Jonathan Gresham, Heath, and Nick Aldis. That's one team. And then the other team will be Moose, Mike Bailey, PCO, and Rich Swann. And right now they're kind of doing a storyline with Moose and Rich Swann, so I think they're going to be off at Slammiversary. So I think they're telegraphing the final four being Bully Ray, Gresh, Heath, and Aldis. But Marcus, what do you think about this with the 8-4-1 match, as they're calling it?
I dig it. It's complicated in a simplistic way because I feel like they used to get like overly unnecessarily complicated back in the day with those reverse battle royals and God knows what else they came up with at the time, which was unique, but ultimately a lot of times it was just too convoluted to be pulled off in the way they wanted it to. So I feel like this is, I think, a happy medium of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not two people that can follow. Okay, it's two teams of four. The winning team implodes. Last man standing gets the title shot. Simple, you know. So I like it, and with me in this scenario, looking at it, anybody but Bully. Anybody.
Yeah, they're not going to do Bully Ray at Slammiversary, and I don't think they're going to do Heath. It really all depends on how they feel about Macklin and what they can get for Aldis. If Aldis does up with them long term, 2-3 years, I think Aldis wins this 8-4-1, goes to Slammiversary, takes the belt, and we're off and running. But they may have faith in Steve Macklin. And if that's the case, then maybe it's Mike Bailey, maybe it's John Gresham, then going on to Slammiversary in the headlining match. It really all depends on how they view Macklin right now as a wrestler. And who knows? Like we were just talking about how they telegraph things with Breaker and Carmelo. I do not believe that Alex Shelley is going to necessarily outright lose at Against All Odds. I think it's a very possible thing that you could have Shelley going into the anniversary pay-per-view as champion, considering he just re-upped with the company. So it would make sense that they would do a title switch there in that situation, and then you reopen the conversation for anyone at all at that point. You could do Aldis, you could do Gresham, you could do Bully, which I know would upset you. You could do Moose, you could do Swan. There's a lot of moving parts right now, and I don't think it's necessarily as cut and dry and easy to figure out as other wrestling at the moment. So.
Yeah, has that? I mean, just thinking about it though, talk about a unique position to be in. We could look at probably the first time ever where the Guns are on top in the company, not as a tag team, and as tag team champions, but as potentially, respectively, world and X division champion.
Yeah, and that would be amazing.
Yeah, And I don't. I mean, yeah, that'll probably obviously be the first time ever because obviously the whole thing with Shelley is like he's touted as the best guy, one of the best guys to ever come through the company to not be world champion, and then Saban's got that legacy when he's looking to get what a ninth X Division championship. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that'll be a great story to tell, man. And then obviously you can still have Macklin, having the thing cut short and just having him snap because obviously he would get that rammed in his face by Scott D'Amore, and then that could be an ongoing thing because he is torturing Scott D'Amore. Um, and then that you could keep that going and have guys obviously kind of stand up for the boss who's been good to them and lead that up until and I don't know how far off we are from Alexander coming back, but I would imagine that's his first bit of business even without the championship when he comes back. So yeah.
I think he's a while. I think he's a while back.
Yeah.
Now, you say this, and now I'm thinking of something that Eric Young said, where he was basically saying that he's getting ready to return to wrestling in some regard. Let me see if I can find it real fast.
You was talking about Alexander?
No, Eric Young.
Oh wow.
Hang on. I just saw something about how he updated something. Here you go. Time to work when the world hands you lemons. Well, you know the rest. See you all again real soon. Big change coming. Now, he signed with the WWE, but the signing was more or less a assumed situation. We don't know for sure if he is signed with WWE because he hasn't debuted with them or re-debuted with them. So he very much could still not be with the WWE for all we know. We haven't had any actual confirmation because he was allegedly re-signed in November of 2022. It's June. And that's 8 months. I don't think Eric Young is under contract with the WWE, at least not anymore. And if he's not, then I think you have a situation where Macklin loses against all odds, and then Eric Young comes in as a proxy for Scott D'Amore to fight Macklin in some type of hardcore nonsense at Slammiversary. Now, that situation could play out regardless, but with Josh Alexander, but I don't think he's ready to come back yet.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those situations where you want that 100% heal, and I can imagine after that insane reign that he had, that the time off is not warranted from a lot of different perspectives, certainly physically, but also added time with the family. So, but I do like you think it's a ways off, but that's why it's gonna be interesting seeing if they actually pull, to your point, the trigger when it comes to the guns, because it actually is making history on both sides of the fence. So, but all they go cut Macklin off at the knees so early on in this reign when they spent a good damn near 2 years building him to it. So, we'll see.
Josh Alexander could return any day now. Depending on how it heals, obviously that's always the big to do.
Yeah.
It could take 8 to 12 weeks, so that's 2 to 4 months to return. So he's about 2 months in. So he could realistically come back sooner rather than later. And he might be able to come back in time for Slammiversary, although I think that may be pushing it. But it's possible, right? It's possible. But I wouldn't hold your breath. But it
Yeah.
could happen. Now, so I think that's the way that they may end up going because Macklin may not be, the guy that you want to be world champion for a long time, and that's fine. That's fair. He might be a nice transitional champion, but I think the title may have elevated his status high enough that maybe you don't need him with the belt because his attraction may be the violence that he brings to the matches. So,
Yeah, and he's basically doing everything to get fired, except he's not getting fired. So, yeah.
man must have one hell of a contract. All right, Marcus, any final thoughts before we head off for the evening?
All for me, man.
I'm not seeing anything else on the news. Ted DiBiase Sr. is still doing interviews, even though he's about to go to jail. More power to you, bud. All right, for Marcus Green, I'm Chad Pardo. This has been the Wrestling Underground podcast. You can find us on the website at realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com. I'm going to try to be more active there with writing because, I don't know, I like to be paid for my writing. It's fun to do. I like it. So I got another idea in the old chamber. I posted what was it, last week? I did post the rebooking. Let me see where it was in terms of time. Now you don't want to load properly? Hey, you dick. There we go. Wunderbar. I posted last week the rebooking of the World Wrestling All-Stars Inception pay-per-view. I think it went well. It is a bare-ass bones pay-per-view. But I think I did it. And like part of me wants to redo the invasion angle, but I don't know if I have the brain power to deal with all of that.
All those personalities, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. But I do have another idea already in the old drafts, if you will. So that might be worked on tonight, possibly. So yeah, check that out. realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com. It's a article about the NWA and how they need to get rid of dealing with Tyrus and start focusing on younger talent. So there you go. That'll be worked on probably tonight. Yeah, so the socials. There we go. That's where we're on. realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com. We're on Twitter at nerdcorp. Marcus can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow, on Twitter. You guys are covering Glee at the moment? Is that correct?
Yeah, covering Glee at the moment. I'll probably be looking at 3 of their shows over the weekend, so that we'll be doing some Glee catch up. Look forward to that.
As a wrestling aside, check out the Leo Rush Mike Bailey match from New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That was high octane, and that's the best way I can describe it. You can find me on Twitter, Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp. I'm also on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at ChadSphotoHut. So be sure to check us out next Monday around 10-ish on twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. And, of course, on the Twitter at NERDCRP, so you can find us there. And, yeah, that's it. We're done. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night.